Hi, this is just a quick check-in before the beginning of this reading to let you know that there is a secondary final message right at the end of the reading after the initial reading has finished. Some things came to light after I had finished the reading and I came back to do an update. If you are Australian and you follow the AFL, you will know exactly what it is straight away. But there's a reason for it. And it all came out in the end. So please watch all the way through to the end for some beautiful hidden messages and synchronicities. Hi, and welcome to my channel. I've just had a massive download where I've been able to piece things together from readings that I have done over the past 18 months. Huge download, and I've come to pull some cards in front of you, and I'm going to work through my thoughts because I've still got stuff coming in, and I thought that you might like to come along for the ride. So if you are new to my channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. A bit about me first. I am an intuitive tarot reader. I pick up on energy prior to a reading. I always try to confirm the messages that I am receiving, but there's so much coming through. If I miss something, please, or if I mistake something, please pop your thoughts in the description because it's another thread that I can pull on. We are all only human after all. So this was the card that came out in the pre-shuffle. Now, all of the cards that I use on my channel are my own designs because I'm also an illustrator. If you call to any of those, the links to those can be found in the description box. The Seven of Cups, which is the card of illusion. It's Venus in Pisces. The North Node is currently in Pisces. So it's what's happening in the sky at the moment. Okay. Today in Australia is the AFL Grand Final. It is a huge, big football game. Not football as in soccer, but football, the Australian Football League. So it's like a rugby ball, but it's kind of more pointed. More like not like an Easter egg, but more like an egg shape. And I've been pulling through these themes of rebirth, but I've been getting lots and lots of downloads with references back to the Bible. And I'm Catholic, but I am not an avid Bible reader. So I have spent well over 18 months, 2 years, just pulling on the thread and going down the rabbit hole when I get this information. We are all on a collective spiritual journey because the North Node is currently in Pisces. It's meant to be things that aren't necessarily clear. Illusion, confusion. A tidbit of information that you get that you don't have enough information on. So you just have to, it's like an Easter egg hunt, isn't it? You just have to collect the piece and pop it in your basket, and eventually the story all comes together. Well, that's what happened today. So as I said, it's the AFL Grand Final today. The Brisbane Lions, I live in Brisbane in Australia, the Brisbane Lions are up against the Collingwood Magpies. Now, I've not tapped into that particular component of it because there's another aspect that I want to pull some cards on, but there might be some significance in, well, I know the lion is the Lion of Judah. So that would be the constellation Leo. And then we have the magpies. Now, in my research, quick research, I looked up whether there was a magpie constellation. And all I got was, let me show you. I didn't even know what that is. Elenthropedia. A play. So it might be a gaming site where there is a magpie constellation. So I couldn't find an actual magpie constellation. I did find information on the Magpie Bridge, but magpies themselves represent thievery, trickery, illusion, deception. Now brace yourself because there's some a lot of information within this reading. I will try and just work my way methodically through it. But what's happening at the moment is I'm getting information about things that have happened in past events, songs that I've been pulling through for 18 months, and channeled messages that I've been getting also. So as I said, today is the day of the grand final. Now, the song that relates to the grand final here in Australia is a song by Hunters and Collectors called the Holy Grail. We were marching as one on the road to the Holy Grail. Now, the Holy Grail, obviously, some people think it's a car, but some people think it's a state of mind. For that band specifically, they wrote that song because they were trying to crack the American market and they couldn't do it. We ran into millions and nobody got paid, which means there was a massive sacrifice that was made. The other thing that I was getting was the charge of the Light Brigade. Now, the Light Brigade here is often attributed to the 4th Light Horse Brigade, which was the last mounted brigade, so mounted being a horseman, and it was part of the Battle of Beersheba in 1917, on the 31st of October in 1917, and it was an Australian, and it's now armoured, so it's now tanks, because obviously we don't use horses in wars anymore, but it was the last and biggest horse-led battle. And it was the British, the Australians, the New Zealanders, and a collection of people from the Arab Revolt, which is the Palestinian flag, trying to push the Germans and the Ottoman Empire out of Palestine. So there's some symbols here within the Bible of the 4 horsemen, because it was the 4th Light Horse Brigade. We've got the Palestinian flag, which is the 4 horsemen in the apocalypse: red, white, green, black, and a battle for the Holy Grail, which would be Palestine. It's called the Battle of Beersheba. But the interesting thing is that it happened on October 31st, which is All Hallows Eve, October 31st, 1917. Now, I've been getting the score. I put my songs on random shuffle. I've been getting the score for the movie 1917 for months and months and months, and I didn't know what to equate it to. The only imagery that was coming through for me was and I'm not even sure whether it equates to that particular part of the war, was that flotilla of ships that were coming from Britain. All of the fishermen and the sailmen, is that even a word? The sailmen that were coming to collect all of the people from the end of the war. And now, if we're looking at things in parallel, what happened back then and what's happening now we've got a flotilla, a group of boats coming from all of the European countries back to Gaza, almost like the replication of the Battle of Beersheba, to try and bring baby formula. Essentially, that's all they're carrying, baby formula. And at the moment, they're being bombed from the top with drones. And we went to a big drone show last night. Bombed from the top with drones. And actually in that drone show, because I've been getting St. Helena Island. St. Helena was the mother of Constantine, who approved and legalized Christianity, which has been the predominant religion for the last, since the mid-300s, 333, I think it was. But his mother went to Jerusalem and collected fragments of the cross. Now, in this drone show last night, it was talking about the creation story of the Brisbane River, this big snake. We call it the brown snake. Essentially, it weaves its way through the city, murky underneath because it's brown. It's like mud and silt, so you can't see. But in that story, it was talking about a great tsunami. They were trying to shoot arrows at the whale. Let me just think. The story was about the tribes of the land and the tribes of the sea, and they were trying to shoot arrows at the whale. And in his anger, the whale thumped the ocean and caused a massive tsunami, which flooded all of the islands off the coast of Brisbane. Now, Dreamtime story, maybe it actually happened. But one of the islands, and I never knew, one of the islands is called St. Helena Island. So let me get you some information as to some of the information that's been coming through. So as I said, the 31st of October, All Hallows Eve, that's when the veil is thin. The 31st of October 1917 was the Battle of Beersheba. This morning I spent some time looking at the trajectory of 3I Atlas, this interstellar comet that, well, it's not a comet, they don't know what it is. This interstellar comet that arrived in our solar system. Interstellar means that it's come from out of what we know. It arrived here on the 1st of the 7th, so the 1st of July. And it was found in Sagittarius. Now, Sagittarius is the archer. The archer takes its shot. And it was found at the tip of the archer's bow. Now, Sagittarius lies in the heart of the Milky Way, the ripping open of the firmament, which is, some people believe that because of the destruction of the Second Temple back in 70 AD, God ripped open the firmament, meaning the Milky Way. It looks like a big scar in the sky. Now, the Milky Way in Australian Indigenous imagery is represented by the emu. It's called the emu in the sky. Now, this is all the stuff that I wrote down this morning. The emu feather was worn in World War II by the last Mounted Cavalry Regiment in the Battle of Beersheba. Beersheba is in Palestine. And it wasn't until, that was about 7 o'clock this morning, it wasn't until 2:30 when I walked out and realised that the grand final had started. We were marching as one on the road to the Holy Grail. The 4th Light Horse Regiment, as I said, the 4 horsemen, alongside the Arab revolt, the people from the Arab revolt that were trying to push out the Ottoman Empire and the Germans from Palestine, the 4th Light Horse Brigade wore emu feathers in their hats. Now, I did in their slouch hats. I did a reading months ago about this. And because nobody back then had been to Australia, nobody on the battlefield, they jokingly told all of the other armies that they were kangaroo feathers, but they were emu feathers. Emu feathers. How interesting is that? I can't believe this is all coming full circle. So on the 1st of July this year, which was when 3I Atlas, which is currently glowing green, started off as black, then it went red, then it went green, currently growing green, and by I think the 19th of October, as it starts to pull into the orbit of the sun, they suspect that it will start glowing white. So again, those are colours of the 4 horsemen, but also the colours of the Palestinian flag. So on the 1st of July, Atlas started in Sagittarius. Sagittarius, the archer that pulls back. Sagittarius, very, very, it's like the beginning of the galactic center that pulls back, God pulling back the bow on the arrow, almost like the final. Let me see if I've got a picture, and I do. So here he is. Here's Sagittarius. That's the top of the bow, and that's where Atlas is. So that's the 1st of July. He then comes into, by July 7th, he moves down into the Milky Way, which is the emu in the sky. The Battle of Beersheba. What happened this year on the 7th of the 7th? Because that is 7/7, and then 2025, 2 by 7/7, which is almost the, if you look at Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, which was where the symbolism of the Aryan race, the German Aryan race, had come from. They were trying to make this supreme race, this heavenly race. So we've got, if you do an Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, are both 7 stars. But the Ursa Minor, I think, has got the pole star in it. So we have these 4 sevens. If you look at the symbolism of the German flag, near Messier 23. By August 8, I'm just going to pop this down because it gets heavy. Atlas, this used to be the 13th zodiac sign. Very, very spiritual. Transformation, healer. That's what it symbolizes. Transformation, the healer. It's the center of the Milky Way, the center of the galaxy. It's where the black hole is that started us, our universe, the birthplace of the stars. Ancient knowledge, ancient wisdom, and ancestral knowledge. So that's where it is, the 8-8 portal. Now, the number 8 is the infinity, this loop, this karmic loop that we have been in round and round and round, almost playing out now the opposite of what happened back in 1917. By September 9, we get some balance. That's the 999 portal. That hasn't happened for 15 years. It's when you get the number of the day. So September is the ninth month, ninth day of the ninth month, and 2025 adds up to a 9. So in the 999 portal, which is endings and beginnings, it goes into Libra. So some sort of karmic justice, some sort of karmic balance. These are more difficult to see. Actually, if I just go back, because this is important. Atlas, here. We've got a man wrestling with a serpent. And Scorpio, which is death and rebirth. Scorpio is under the feet. And Scorpio holds the royal star Antares, which is Archangel Uriel, which is God is my light. So it's illuminating things. So then we go September 9, Atlas, 3-eye Atlas, is in Libra. So something coming in from out of space to actually balance the scales of justice. I want to say to almost stop us going into World War III. October 10, Atlas will be next to Mercury, which is the planet of communication, in Virgo. Venus is also in Virgo. So that's Mother Mary energy. And the Sun is in Virgo as well. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Because if we go back to October 7, and I want you to obviously remember that number, but October 7, we have Mercury and Atlas. And in some things that were coming through, and I don't fall into the whole rapture thing. I don't even understand it. Like, I understand it, but it's not my trajectory. But there was all of this stuff that was being talked about people being raptured, God's people being taken up to heaven on the Feast of Trumpets, which was the 23rd of September, which was the day that all the countries came together in the UN. But there's a realization now that the current calendar is different. The Gregorian calendar is different to the Julian calendar. And so the actual date of the Feast of Trumpets, when you think a trumpet, somebody blowing a horn to say cavalry is coming, will actually happen on the 7th of the 10th this year. So on the 10th of the 10th, Atlas will be in Virgo. 10s symbolize endings. And then we have on the 1st of November, which is the day after All Hallows Eve, Atlas sits on top of Venus in Virgo. Now, Venus in Virgo is Mother Mary. So by the 12th of the 12th, Atlas sits on the foot of the lion in Leo. Well, the lion is who's playing in the AFL Grand Final today. The foot of the lion in Leo. The foot of the lion in Leo. By Christmas Day, Atlas sits on the front leg of the lion alongside Regulus, the king star, in Leo. Now that is symbolized by Archangel Raphael. Regulus is the watcher of the north, the heart of the celestial lion, and it symbolizes kinship, honor, and fame. Be interesting to see who wins the grand final today. I bet the Lions do. By the 1st of January next year, it's on the front of the foot of Leo. By the 2nd of the 2nd, it's almost in Gemini. Gemini is a communication. It's also Castor and Pollux, which is a battle between the twins. The 3rd of the 3rd, it's sat on the top of Jupiter in Gemini. Now, Jupiter, again, is this king star, but Jupiter represents change. It's the wheel of fortune. By the 4th of the 4th, which is coming into Eid, Passover, Easter, Atlas sits at the feet of Castor. Now, Castor is symbolized by a man with bent knee. At the feet of Castor, the bent knee in Gemini, near the star Athena. And it sits there right the way through until the 6th of the 6th in 2026. It transfers to the knee of Pollux. At that time, Venus is in Gemini. Venus is the goddess of love. By the 7th of the 7th, it's sitting with the sun in Gemini. Now on the 8th of the 8th, Atlas is sitting in the belly of Pollux. By the 9th of the 9th, it's still in Gemini. So this twin symbolism, because Gemini is the twins. By the 9th of the 9th, It's still in Gemini, but now Mars has entered the mix. Mars is the planet of war, and Mars is sitting on the hand of Pollux. Now, I don't know much about the symbolism of Pollux, but there's something in this because by 9/11 next year, which is the 25th anniversary of September 11, Mars moves from the hand of Pollux to the forearm of Pollux. Mars is the symbol of war, and forearm is like a strength, a rising strength. I don't know what is coming out. By the 10/10 portal, it's in the belly of Pollux. The 11/11 portal, it's in the groin of Pollux. And by the 12/12 portal, it's in the thigh. So this holy grail that everybody seems to be after. Let's get some cards. I want to see what else we get. Daniel, wow, legal. Daniel in the lion's den. 50, it's a Jubilee year this year, 50. What I was going to say before too, and I will find it because I did take some notes on it because it was kind of really eerie. I was going to do a secondary reading and I probably still will. But this year, and I had that imagery of the boats coming in. Let me find my notes. Yeah, I was getting the song I Get By With Little Help from My Friends. The flotilla is coming in, which is a combination of a whole heap of countries, civilians from a whole heap of countries coming in. They are now being escorted by 2 Italian Navy vessels. And in the last 24 hours, the Greek Navy has also sent a vessel in because over the last couple of days, they were actually being bombed by drones. Now, if you think about it, and we were talking before about this tear in the sky at the anger at the destruction of the Second Temple by the Romans. We now have the Romans who destroyed the Second Temple coming in to try and save the Palestinians. The Roman army was destroyed in 79 AD. Now what happened there was, these are Pluto and Aquarius transit, which happens every 250 years. What happened there was, the Romans destroyed the temple, and then 9 years later, God, Mother Earth, Mother Gaia, Mount Vesuvius erupted and buried the Roman army who were all living in Pompeii. So it's almost like an eye for an eye. Maybe an opportunity in God's eyes, Rome to do the right thing now. But this was the other thing that I got. Revelation 13, the beast out of the sea, the dragon. 7 heads, 10 horns, representing a tyrannical power and an antagonist to God, Rome, and his power. Now, 710 is October 7. The newest submarine in the fleet of Israeli submarines was doing sea testing. So it's only just been built, and it was doing sea testing in July this year, somewhere. God knows what sea. But if they've been bombing them from the top and somebody brings in some fleets to protect them, then what's to stop them bombing them from the bottom? Because at the moment, officially, that submarine hasn't been delivered. It's being tested. So nobody knows where it is. But the beast out of the sea, the dragon. The interesting thing is, the name of that new submarine is Drakon, D-R-A-K-O-N, Drakon, which means dragon in Hebrew. In Strong's Concordance, it's 185 and 378. 185 is innocent, or a desire. 378 is occupy. Man of shame, or Boruth, son of Saul, murdered by his own military leaders, leading to David becoming king. Now this particular moment in time, and if you've watched my readings before, you already know, so you can just switch off, but this particular moment in time, so we're looking at the book of Daniel in the lion's den. But we're also looking at Daniel's 70 weeks, which is 9:23 to 24, which is when everybody thought the rapture was going to happen. I mean, there was a whole heap of people in Ethiopia that went and waited in the forest to be taken up to God. To me, it's a spiritual rapture. It's a recognition. It's a moving from one place to another once you actually understand the illusion of what's playing out. Once it all comes to the surface, like a submarine, once it all comes to the surface. Let me get that image, actually. So we've got this submarine, which to me symbolizes the beast coming out of the sea. a couple of, well, probably 18 months ago, I had a dream about a submarine that had to come up, and I was on the submarine and we thought we were surfacing in Sydney Harbour, and we actually came up in New York, in the Hudson River in New York, which again, this illusion of where you think you actually are, who you think you're on the boat with. I then also had another dream, and it was of the North Korean leader, and he was stood at the top of a submarine, almost like Titanic style, as the boat kind of goes down in the water. The submarine had been split in two, and he was standing on the top of it proudly as this submarine went down into the water. Now, he made a statement the other day where he said, because Greta Thunberg is on one of the boats on the flotilla, he said, if somebody, BOMBS, Greta Thunberg's boat, he will enter the war. And my daughter and I were having this conversation about, she's studying international relations at university, and we were having this conversation about the fact that at uni they'd been having this debate about how difficult it is at the moment. It's almost a bit of a conundrum to support the actions of somebody in their defense of the innocent, somebody who's coming in with baby formula, even though that particular person, as a person, you don't support their actions. This kind of moral debate that's raging at the moment. And it's all part of our spiritual journey, all part of our spiritual awakening. The other thing that was, if we go back to the magpie, there's apparently some magpie bridge in the constellation. There's something to do with lions and magpies. Daniel in the lion's den, which is 9 Virgo, September 23, 24, which was the day that everybody was at the United Nations in America, in New York. Also the Feast of Trumpets, but it's off. It's actually the 7th and the 8th, which would align with that verse. Feast of Trumpets, the 7th and the 8th. 7 heads and 10 horns, 7/10, which is October 7. This was the other passage that I was getting, and it's part of the Revelation 12 sign. Revelation 12:3. Then another sign appeared in the heaven, an enormous red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns on its head. That is, to me, submarine. Its tail swept a third of the stars. This is 12:4. Its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to the earth. The dragon stood in front of the woman who was about to give birth so that he might devour her child. So that's the Revelation 12:3 sign. An enormous red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns on its head. So the other thing that's relevant and at this particular time of year, so we've got Revelation 12:3 and 4. And it talks about, again, this dragon. Its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to the earth. The Draconoid meteor shower also happens at the end of the year. This meteor shower will be in the night sky from the 6th to the 10th of October, which is a very small window of activity. During the time, it will peak on the evening of 8th of October in the early morning of the 9th of October. And I don't know when the flotilla actually arrives in Gaza, if they even make it there, or what will happen, what sort of battle will happen. But we've got this tie-in between this period of time on through the 7th to the 10th of October, and then the Battle of Beersheba was the 31st of October. This dragon in the sky. Ursa Major, Ursa Minor, which is this 7/7. Now, Israel is 77 this year. It's almost when Jacob wrestled with God at 77. How interesting. Okay, let's get some cards. I've just got so many thoughts. I could do a million readings. Let's find out about this legal. Who's bound to what is what I heard. This angel helps to obtain God's mercy and rules over justice, councils, attorneys, and magistrates. Soul guardian for those born 4:20 p.m. to 4:40 p.m. Moral guardian for those born the 8th of May, the 19th of July, the 29th of September, the 10th of December, and the 20th of February. Physical guardian for those born the 20th to the 24th of November. Charge of the Light Brigade. I'm just going through the 31st of the 10th, 1917. Pluto was in Gemini. Venus was in Capricorn. Saturn was in Cancer. Neptune was in Cancer. Cancer is the number 7. Venus was at the foot of the Serpent. Mars was sitting on Regulus. Kinship, honor, and fame. Watcher of the North, the heart of the celestial lion. Mars was sitting on Regulus in Leo. The moon was in Taurus and the sun and Mercury were in Virgo. Now, on the 31st of this year, 108 years later, again, that's the 10th of the 8th. 10th of the 8th. Uranus in Taurus. Now, Uranus was in Taurus when they dropped the bombs on Hiroshima. Uranus was in Taurus when the fleet at Pearl Harbor was bombed. Mars and Mercury in Libra. Saturn and Neptune are both in Pisces. So Saturn and Neptune were both in Cancer. So there's some sort of Saturn is your karmic teacher. It's balance. It's the things that you need to learn. And Neptune is about going down to the depths, but Neptune is also about the bottom of the ocean, so submarines. Pluto in Aquarius, which is transformation. The moon in Aquarius, the sun in Virgo, and Venus in Virgo. Okay, I'm just going to get going, because if I keep going, what else do we need to know? A lot of information. You may need to come back and watch again. Spiritual connection. It's about our spiritual journey. This is it's a tying back to what happened in the past. You are protected. Get off the grid, hermit mode, and toxicity. What are these two? Third party and mountain, the view from the top. I'm going to take those. Okay. Let's get... I'm going to use that deck. The energy around us. Whoa, the devil. Us individually. This is around us. What's happening? For anybody that's on a spiritual journey, spiritual connection, anybody that's on a spiritual journey, what is happening? The Eight of Cups, that's Saturn in Pisces. It's walking away from toxicity. Recognizing the toxic patterns, the toxic illusions that have been spun to you. And I've said it before, and I keep getting it coming through, and obviously it's all over the media at the moment. But all the lies are coming to the surface, specifically about 9/11. There will be stuff coming out, I believe, about stand-down orders within what happened on October 7. It's all coming to the surface so that we can go, oh my gosh, I believed you and you said, and now I know the truth. I'm going to align myself with a higher source. This is also about like that firmament being spun open, disappointment. What's happening in the soul? A disappointment. And I want to say too, part of your spiritual journey, don't be hard on yourself because you believed somebody, because a trickster is a trickster. They're good at what they do. A magician can have you believe that they pull a rabbit out of a hat. That's what they do. It's all smoke and mirrors. Don't be disappointed that you have been tricked. Be grateful that you now know the truth. That's what I want to say. Third party. What I was going to say was that firmament being opened, that even there's stuff in the Bible about the 7 seals being the 7 seals to heaven, between heaven and earth. And Atlas at the moment is that big comet that's in the sky. Well, Atlas is the 33rd vertebrae. It's what holds up the heavens. And if you look at the painting that Michelangelo did on the Sistine Chapel wall, that's Daniel's 70 weeks. That painting was painted 490 years ago this year. The Last Judgment was painted 490 years ago this year. Interesting, right? So many tie-ins. Even in that period of time, that was when Henry VIII had split the church in two. The Church of England broke away from Catholicism and split it in two, which is that Castor and Pollux. The battle between the Achilles heel, because Jacob means heel. Jacob is what Israel was called. God changed Jacob's name to Israel. Israel is 77 this year. Jacob wrestled with God at the age of 77. But Jacob's name actually means heel because he was a twin. He came out of the womb after his brother. And because his brother was given everything because he was the firstborn, Jacob got the shits basically and tried to steal it, which is what that magpie is. That thievery, crooked energy. And so Jacob then wrestled with God at the age of 77. Okay, the message from the man upstairs. The Five of Pentacles. What you didn't get. Somebody else got the world and I didn't get it. I want what somebody else has. It's mine. It's a bit Veruca Salt. I want a Loompa Loompa Daddy. Ten of Swords. And I'll do anything. Anything. That's the card of backstabbing. I'll do anything to get it. I don't care who I destroy in the wake. Even the fact that that temple was destroyed in 70 AD. Wow. This is the outcome. It's hidden. The moon also symbolizes, though, people, the power to the people. The sun is the Leo energies that are in power. Now, it doesn't mean you have to have Leo in your chart, but it's Leo is the lion of Judah, the Brisbane Lions, obviously, today, that are playing in the grand final, the people that are going for the Holy Grail, the people that are battling for the Holy Grail. But Leo is the sun energy. It's people that want the power for themselves. And the moon is the people. It's humanity. We are going into, by July next year, I think, we will go into, the North Node goes into Aquarius. And Aquarius is the rebel. It is the Pluto and Aquarius transit every 250 years. As I said, it was there during that period of painting the Last Judgment on the Sistine Chapel wall. It was also there when the temple came down in 70 AD. It was there when William Wallace, you can take away my land, but you can't take away my freedom. This Pluto and Aquarius transit that runs through every 250 years. It's like the astrological clock. And interesting, right? Because Saturn was together at the Battle of Bathsheba. Saturn is represents Chronos, which is the clock, father time. Saturn was together with Neptune, a spiritual lesson that had to be, the seed of a spiritual lesson that had to be planted, and it was planted in Cancer back on the 31st of October, 1917. And now, this karmic loop, we've got the other end of it. What has been harvested? Who has been sacrificed in a pursuit of power, toxic power? Ten of Swords on the bottom still. Okay, let's get, I'm going to get some from my travel deck. I don't want to do a lot of clarifying because I think there's just enough there's enough information in what's happening in the sky. Let's get, this is my travel deck. Yeah. That's at Ephesus. And that was a Colosseum. A battle on the world stage. A battle on the world stage. I think too, Hercules also sits in behind, the constellation of Hercules also sits in behind where that Draco constellation is. Ursa Major, Ursa Minor, Draco, and then Hercules in behind. And if you think of Hercules in Greek mythology, now the Greek Navy's coming in, but also in Roman mythology, both relevant. So we've got the Romans and the Greeks coming in to battle, coming in alongside the people to battle the dragon. I'm sure some people come to my readings and go, this woman is a lunatic. Yeah, look at that. Wow, that's in the Vatican. That's on the wall of the Vatican, but there's four. There's four. I wonder who that is. You know, I went looking for that before. So this is my travel deck. When I was 21, I lived abroad, and I spent time traveling through Europe, and I've just put together all of the places that I went, Ephesus, Rome, all of the places that I went, all of the pictures that I took on my little camera that wasn't, you know, it was a proper film camera. There was no mobile phones then, you know. And it's been so good because I realize now all the places that I went, all the places that I have been, actually are pulling through the energies of the messages that I'm channeling. So this is in St. Peter's Basilica. So St. Peter was martyred in Rome. And the big obelisk that sits in the middle of the square in Rome is the key. It's like the key to open the lock. But there are 4 of these. One, two, three, 4. And I wonder which one that is. Because there are 4 royal stars of Persia, which I have attributed previously to the 4 horsemen. Leo, Taurus, Aquarius, and Scorpio. And they are, the stars are Antares, Regulus, Aldebaran, and Fomalhaut. Uriel, Raphael, Michael, and Gabriel. And a lot of where that 3-eye atlas goes over, it kind of touches those stars in its journey. The symbolism of it is paralleled, obviously, in the 4 horsemen, which is destruction and judgment, chaos that precedes transformation, but it's 4 directions, it's 4 pillars. This is the world card. It's the end of this cycle for us. But I've said in previous readings, and that might be John, that symbolism of those 4, you know, even if you think about, you know, the symbol of the German army is 4. It's paralleled in Ezekiel 1:18, 10, 12. I'm just looking at what I've got written on the wall, and I wrote it like 12 months ago. Full of all eyes around. The world is watching. The world is watching. But there's something in here about the Catholic Church, because that was the beginning, where John went in the beginning. He went to Ephesus, and then he went to Patros in the Greek islands. So we've got, again, Greece and Rome. Anything else? Destruction. The Temple of Artemis. The Temple of Artemis. And all I'm drawn to up here, this is Italy, all I'm drawn to up here is this clock. That's 10 past 10 on that clock, 10:10. And that's Venice, which is that water symbolism. And a single bird flying in the sky, which to me is Noah's Ark energy. Okay. I'm just going to get one of these, my Mother Mary card. Anything else we need to know? Yeah, it's time. Our Lady Slipper, Mary's Beautiful Steps. So the journey that we are on, but that also, because I was talking about Saturn, Chronos time, that also reminds me of ruby slippers. So the Wizard of Oz. 77 in Hebrew is Oz, a spiritual journey that we are on. The 2 movies, Wicked and Wicked for Good. Now, Wicked for Good comes out at the end of November. Things happen like this for a reason. Things happen like this for a reason. Our Lady Slipper, Mary's Beautiful Steps, but it's also giving Cinderella energy, which is midnight energy. And when you think about, you know, if God is using the signs in the heavens as a spiritual timepiece of what's happening, and there are 88 constellations, but there are 12 signs of the zodiac. It's midnight, it's 12 o'clock. Somebody's going to lose their slipper. The Tree of Life, wisdom and knowledge. Softening to compassion and love. Bleeding heart, what's that? And it's harvest. It's harvest time. What has been harvested? I'll tell you what, some of the messages that are coming through are really, really gruesome. Some of the messages that are coming through. Some of the things that have popped into my mind about Who, what has been harvested. Obviously, we've got sex trafficking, children coming to the surface, this hidden agenda, and things coming up. Softening to love. Things coming up about organ harvesting. Now, harvest, abundance, and bleeding heart. Bleeding heart. This is Mother Mary. Mary is the 9th month, is Virgo. Currently, we are in Virgo, and on the 31st, All Hallows Eve, the 31st, Three-Eye Atlas sits on top of Venus in Virgo. And I took a photo of it. Look. The 31st of October this year, that's Atlas and that's Venus, and Spica is the symbol of the harvest. Three-Eye Atlas is basically making its way through the zodiac, going over all of the, it's illuminating, it's almost firing up, bringing to light all of the things that we need to complete this phase of this massive spiritual transformation that we are going on in order to remove the devil from our life. Mountain the view from the top, third party, toxicity, get off the grid, hermit mode. And if you know about it, you can actually take a step back and go, yeah, I get it. So if you hear about something, look up the date, look at where Three-Eye Atlas is in the sky, look at what it's sitting next to. Is it sitting next to Mars? Mars is the planet of war. Is it sitting next to Venus? Venus is the planet of love and fertility, compassion, love, abundance. Where is it and what is it doing? Because it's meant to be, it's almost like a marker in the sky of what's actually happening. But it started from when? Well, it started back 31st of October 1917 with the Battle of Bathsheba, the battle for the Holy Grail. But Atlas only arrived a couple of months ago, the 1st of July, and it arrived in Sagittarius, which is the archer takes its shot. God basically, imagine the arrow. The arrow has got fire on the end of it, and God has literally pulled it back, and it's shooting that arrow through the sky at all of the things that need to be illuminated. So interesting. Okay, let's just get a message. This is my Gwen deck. Anything else we need to know? Spilling the tea. The sacrifice, spilling the tea, the sacrifice, and that's a tractor, that's a bulldozer. What's been buried? What and who's been buried in the process to try and keep the truth from being revealed? Okay, I'm going to get some Scrabble tiles. Letters and numbers in here. It does make a little bit of noise when I shake it. If you've got hearing sensitivity, just turn your volume down. I'm going to shake it in 3, 2, 1. That it? That's it. Okay. Okay, so I've got a W and a 4, a G and a 2, an X and an 8, an O and a 1, an M and a 3, a P and a 3, a map. That's Atlas. Atlas is the map. And actually, in fact, look at that. Atlas means map, but Atlas, as I said, is the vertebrae, 33 vertebrae up the spine. It's the last one. The cross, that part of the cross, is the spine. Atlas Comet is finding the spineless. 6, 6 and a 1, S and a 1, a K and a 5, an L and a 1, and an I and a 1. Okay, 3 final cards, and then I'm going to leave you. Anything else? Whoop. Page of Cups, King of Wands. Okay, that's a card of an apology. The King of Wands is somebody who, in the negative, acts without thinking. charges forward and literally destroys everything in his wake. Maybe somebody coming back with, oh, I didn't mean to do it, I didn't realize, blah, 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 blah. Trying to tap into your compassion and love, but it's a trick. It's a trick. And it's a choice point for you. Do I believe, even though I now see everything? Do I believe and trust this person again? Because what will happen if you do is you will end back up on the timeline, back with them as their submarine sinks. The magician, they are the master magician. But if you have all of this information, if you have tapped into your spiritual essence, if you are tapping into your intuition and you are going, actually, you know what, this doesn't make sense, this doesn't add up. I can now see, because there have been spiritual clues left everywhere, then you become the magician. Because the master magician is somebody who can see through the illusion. Wants to come there. The Ten of Cups, you get the Ten of Cups. That's spiritual enlightenment. The Ten of Cups is Mars in Pisces. That's lighting up the sky. Your heaven on earth. Your connection with the divine is lit up like a Christmas tree, I want to say. Okay, that's what I've got for you. Thank you so much for joining me for this reading. If it resonated with you, please give it a like. If you haven't already, please subscribe. All of the decks that I use can be found in the description box. If you're called to any of those, thanks again, and I will see you in another reading. Hi, this is part 2 of the reading, and I'm back because there's a hidden message that I didn't realize was there until after I had completely completed the reading. So after finishing the reading, I went to watch the end of the grand final. The Brisbane Lions won 122-75. So the underdog won. They weren't meant to win. They'd been beaten by that team 4 weeks ago. I'm not an AFL fan. So the twist is, when I'd originally walked past the TV when the game started, I saw what I thought was black and white stripes of the Magpies. But it wasn't actually. It was navy blue and white stripes of the Geelong Cats. I thought they were playing the Magpies. And of course, I went ahead and did the reading based on that information. And I was meant to. And I was gobsmacked when I started pulling apart the symbolism and immediately knew why I had mixed the teams up. There is an unknown hidden enemy at play in whatever's happening at the moment. We are meant to mistake the enemy here. I went looking for a cat constellation, and there was one, but it died out and is no longer in existence. But what I did find was almost worse. It's called the Cat's Eye Nebula. Now, a nebula is a giant cloud of dust and gas that often comes from the explosion of a dying star. And the Cat's Eye Nebula that I found is found in the sky in the northern constellation of Draco, the dragon. In correlation with other readings that I've done in the past couple of days, I had heard, when I started doing the readings about Three Eye Atlas and getting the information in about Three Eye Atlas, I had heard as one star rises, another star fades. So of course, a nebula is a giant cloud of dust and gas that it often comes from an explosion of a dying star, but other nebulas are regions where new stars are beginning to form. As one star rises, another star fades. And in beautiful symbolism in the reading, I had mentioned that on the 12th of the 12th this year, Three Eye Atlas moves into Leo and appears at the foot of the lion. Now, the logo for the Brisbane Lions is a lion, like the constellation, with a ball at the front foot of the lion. And you'll see the images of the grand final, them being presented with what is called in Australia the Holy Grail. And the song that was playing in the background was Midnight Oil, King of the Mountain. Mountain, the view from the top, but look, third party, there's a hidden player. There's a hidden player. There is a hidden magician in the mix here. And I was meant to unearth it while mistakenly seeing one team as the only enemy. That's where I'm going to leave it. That's where I'm going to leave you, deep in thought. I'll see you in another reading.